Mr. Biden is again beating a dead horse, figuratively. The current rulings from the U.S. Supreme Court has now taken the legs out of segregation. The Civil Rights Act was implemented while I was still in high school. I knew it was a big mistake then, and it's a big mistake now. Before everyone starts yapping at me, I'm for earned equality, merit-based. It will work. It took me 10 years to convince the former Lansing branch of the NAACP chair, the late Wilson Caldwell, that what I was proposing would work if politics got out of the way. Stick around and let me convince you. This will be a good talk about. Hello, anyone. I'm Scott Bain. They call me the old farmer. Back on the farm, we had all sorts of neighbors. The best one happened to be Mexican, who could barely speak English, but they were good people. At first, in my youth, I listened to the black propaganda that said I was a racist. Then I met visiting Africans who spoke intelligently and carried themselves with dignity. I realized that what I was against the black attitude and the guttural punk attitude. Every time I saw a minority that had succeeded and they were honest, I had a lot of respect for them. All the civil rights laws that were passed were not needed if we had used the laws already on the books. Of all the people of black that I knew, only 2 succeeded because of the Civil Rights Act. Government forced businesses to hire minorities, and the way government did it really ticked off business, which guaranteed failure. Minorities have a lot to complain about. Much of it is their own fault, but not all of it. Anytime you lift someone above their training, most will fail. This is why the Civil Rights Act failed. There was also a non-public reason to break up minority families. The laws of the Civil Rights Act were designed to force the black man out of the house and away from his family. To me, blacks used to be the example of how an extended family should work. The Civil Rights Act blew this apart. Now the government is coming after the rest of the families and doing a pretty good job of destroying the stability that is found in a man and a woman with kids as a family. Overall, this is the most stable way to raise a family. That's not to say other ways won't work, but they are much harder to be successful and more often than not creates, in varying degrees, a broken adult. All that government will do is give a cash bribe and a lot of lip service. The Civil Rights Act stepped all over me when I went into the world to get a job. I wasn't black, and blacks were incompetent to hold a job because of training. That's why I said I only knew 2 blacks that actually took advantage of the Civil Rights Act to open doors. Then they got off their butts and dug in to learn anything and everything they could about the jobs they were hired to do. I must add, they actually were better than several levels of managers above them by the time they got done. If they needed a degree, they got one. They worked hard and was the best employee and gained the respect of the community around them. They didn't walk around with a chip on their shoulders. Instead, they carried their hearts on their shoulders. Kids, the elders will not tell you this. I will. One of the hardest things about getting old is all the friends you lose. Just about everyone I'm talking about is dead. That is a heavy weight to carry. So in their honor, this is what I think we should do. It's only the basics and needs polishing, but you'll get the idea. If you keep your nose clean and you don't have an education or training because of the school you went to and cannot make it into college or a training school, you can enter boot camp. This would be offered free. Let's pay a few dollars up front to keep someone away from crime and off the dole. This is a mentoring program that will teach you to read, do the math, learn real history, and learn how to speak and write in English. If you goof off, you're out. You stay as long as you need to so that you can apply to college on an equal footing with everyone else. Not because of your color, not because of your heritage, not because you deserve it, because you don't. You are given a second chance, and as long as you put your shoulder to the grindstone and learn what you should know, then you are always welcomed. And maybe later you can come back and teach a few classes. I remember watching Irvin Magic Johnson go through school. The first national commercial he did was for 7-Up. He could only speak Ebonics and didn't speak at all in the commercial. He knew that he wouldn't get anywhere after basketball, so he learned English. He learned how to carry himself with dignity, and he didn't forget where he came from and created support programs to help those in the Lansing, Michigan area. Along what is often called life, he screwed up a couple of times, but he learned his lessons and is an example to all young people that if you work hard, listen to those who can teach you, you will come out a winner. The boot camp I'm talking about brings in those individuals who did not get a fair shake in school. I know how it is. Back for the scholarly tests in 11th grade, I did poorly. The day before the testing started, I was fitting a handle to a hammerhead and a piece of steel implanted in my hand. It was my writing hand. I could not hold a pencil. I kept dropping it. I didn't know at the time I could have taken the test later. No one told me. I was in pain. I kept dropping my pencil. Where was a teacher that would be aware of what was happening to me? Why didn't the teacher notice the blood seeping from a bandage? No one paid any attention. I didn't do well on the tests. It placed me in the lower classes for those who couldn't make the grade. Luckily, I was self-teaching myself already. I was reading the books that were additional reading in college, not the actual textbooks, but the extracurricular books. I read one of these types of books a week, and every day I was reading another book, usually science fiction. And by the end of the week, I had read 8 books. I knew history better than my teachers. I proved there was a major error in the science books used for general science taught in my school. For me, school was a waste of time because I was at the sophomore level in college. The math they were trying to teach me meant nothing. I had to go back to my parents' and grandparents' math books to learn advanced math. But I could understand the theories expressed in the physics class I took if they only taught real math. Yet, when the Soviet Union had launched Sputnik, I got the formulas for plotting orbits from Arthur C. Clarke. I think it was in an article he had written. So in 4th, or maybe it was 5th grade, while my teacher was talking about George Washington throwing a silver dollar across the Potomac River for 2 weeks, I was learning how to plot orbits using only paper and pencil. And I couldn't do new math. So I understand what a poor education meant. Later, to encourage my son, I went on to get my master's, but it took work. It was before all these internet colleges. I know what a bad teacher can do. My 8th grade English teacher was so crazy she was on some strong medications, and that didn't help. That was the year diagramming was taught. As an adult, when I talked to teachers who knew her, agreed she was crazy. All the students that had her thought she was crazy and didn't learn much from her either. There was one exception who thought she was a great teacher. Later, that person was institutionalized. I have better grammar when writing in German or Spanish. I don't have as many syntax errors as I do in English, my native tongue, all because of one teacher. When I couldn't take her anymore, I would get up and walk to the office and wait for class to be over. On the final exam for the year, she had us diagram a sentence and used an assumptive pronoun within the sentence. She had never taught us about assumptive pronouns. I have never found anyone, even English majors, who knew about assumptive pronouns. She did this so no one would get everything right on this final exam. The principal knew the problem. He would let me sit in the office until class was over. He wouldn't put me in another class, but he'd let me sit in the office. All the while sitting in the office, we could hear the teacher screaming at me that I can't leave class without a pass. There were days where it sounded like an insane asylum. So don't tell me that I don't understand bad schooling. So I'm saying forget the politics, forget the blame, and let's start offering a boot camp that will bring anyone that isn't educated enough to enter college or training school the learning they need to succeed. It would be so much cheaper than what we are doing now. Then any color skin can go to school because they have earned the right to do so. A merit-based solution to a problem that should never have happened in the first place. Thank you for watching.
Before we go, thank you to our subscribers who helped us reach over the 1,000 subscription mark. It's very humbling to receive the support from our subscribers. Thank you. I will always try to give you accurate information, and I'm not worried if you disagree in comments. Just remember, youngsters may read your words. Well, this is the old farmer Scott Bain saying, be well, be safe, and be kind to someone today.
Don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, or ring the bell buttons on the original Old Farmer channel. We enjoy reading the comments that you leave, and they do help the channel, so keep them coming. And once again, thank you for watching the original Old Farmer.
The VFW National Home for Children, providing families of veterans and active duty military opportunities for growth and development in a nurturing community. Please consider a donation to help their children and families. I.C. Rhodes speaking.